usual, hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Now, those are the African buffaloes. And my guess, these are like what, 1, 2, 3, 5 of them? They're all boys. The boys tend to be on their own. From the size, I can tell they're boys. They're huge. And by being secluded from maybe the main herds, that also helps to confirm to me they are males. Of course, if they're a little bit closer, we could be able to tell that by looking at the horns. Look on the ground and look at the different shades of the green. In the grass there, it's because we have been having some wonderful rains the last couple of days, and hopefully today it might remain like that and maybe rain after the drive. We have been hammered almost every afternoon going towards the evening, but today I'm not smelling any rain, but I have to be very careful of what I'm saying. A few days ago I said I'm not seeing or smelling any rain, and we were hit so badly. But well, this is what happens out here in the wilderness. Those are the African Cape buffaloes and baying boys. What happens once the boys get a little bit old, the females will always show them the door, and they tend to live on their own. And this makes buffaloes potentially dangerous animals all over Africa, and there have been claimed buffaloes and hippos to have killed or to still kill very many people, or they have so many casualties even today. Because, of course, once they are shown the door and once they start living on their own, they get a little bit grumpy. And for no apparent reason, they'll always attack people. And such termite mounds, like you see there, they are always staying in such areas. And if a buffalo hides behind a termite mound like that, it's always very difficult to see them. Well, I'm not alone in Africa. Well, in the Mara Triangle, I'm on myself. But across to South Africa, there's another gentleman who would like to say hello and show you what he got.
I am right now witnessing this very huge animal moving right in front of us here. That is the elephant. A very, very good afternoon and welcome, boys and girls, to the school drive. I am Sydney Fumunani Mikosi, and I'm traveling with Craig, who is my camera operator. And you can ask your teachers to ask us questions. It would be great to hear from you a lot this afternoon. This is your game drive. I'm going to just move forward a little bit and get you see this elephant nicely. So, Abby, it does get very cold in South Africa, and some of the South African parts does also get the snow. So here where I am, normally it does get cold, and the winter season here, it is a season which is from May up to July. That is when it's very, very cold here in South Africa. So you can see that the elephant, there's more elephants. I can hear some trees breaking here on this side. But this one already, the tree is down, you can see. He's coming back to the tree for the second time. Maybe it's the one who pushed the tree before, or another elephant did it for him. But looking at his size, I think he can be able to take down a tree of this size. You can see this elephant is dirty. He's got quite a lot of mud everywhere. This is a strategy which is done by the elephant deliberately in order to get rid of the sun. When it's too hot, elephants, they use the mud in order to protect their skin so that they can prevent the sunburn. You can see a lot of mud there. Some of the mud are drying up, but you must have to, every time passing by the water hole, just renew and get wet mud again and again. So he's feeding on a thorn tree. The elephant, the trunk as well as the inner parts of the mouth are adapted in order to deal with these thorns. Malu, there is quite a lot of water at the moment, but water is not always available. Some of the dams, they are perennial, and some of them are non-perennial. At this stage, because of heavy rains we had a few weeks ago, there is just water everywhere. This elephant is dirty and it's got quite a lot of water. This water he picked somewhere here next to the road. It's not from the dam. I saw where he got this water from. At the moment, water is just everywhere. During the dry season, when some of these dams and water holes are becoming dry, is when these animals travel long distances in search of water. Oh, this elephant has got just one tusk. So he lost another tusk. Maybe it was when they were pushing each other or when he was looking for a diet. So that is the only tusk he's got. For them to peel the bark, they use the tusk. You will see them penetrating the tusk against the bark on the stem of the tree in order to rip it so that they can take the inner parts. Look at how he's standing, how he's arranging the back legs. Look at that. He's standing on a very lovely style. Chloe, I didn't get your question very nicely. Chloe, the elephants, they don't really have quite a lot of predators. The biggest threat for the elephant is the disease as well as the human beings. Yes, the color of the elephant helps them to blend with the leaves of these trees. Normally, during the dry season, because by the dry season, the trees lose the green leaves and the branches, they look gray. You will see the elephants exactly the same like some of the trees during the dry season. So the trunk we are seeing there, it serves just like a hand in order to bring everything to the mouth. So now let's cross over to Steve, who is also out on a game drive.
We are indeed out and about. Thank you, Sydney. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome to my vehicle. I am also in Djuma in the Sabi Sands, and there is rain on the horizon. We hope it's going to rain because it's 103 degrees Fahrenheit. My name is Steve, and I'm joined on camera by Davisito, and we are out in the African wilderness in search of all the weird and wonderful animals. We're looking for some tracks at the moment, but we're hoping to maybe find a male leopard that we got a very brief glimpse of this morning. He is my favorite leopard in the whole wide world, and so we're going to go see if we can find him. His name is Hosanna, which means little chief. So please send your questions with your teacher. Let us know what you'd like to talk about as well, but that will be my plans for the next hour or so. See how we go. And let's see if we can find that. We might find some elephants as well, and we can maybe talk about the whole system and how these animals live here. Are you ready? Jump on board. Make sure you wear your hats. Sun cream. It is very hot. Hello, Katie. You want to know if animals are vicious? Well, it really depends on which animals you're talking about. You know, animals in general, if you leave them alone, they go about their business. But if you go and poke them or get too close to them, they can respond in some sort of way. So yes, a lot of the animals out here are what we call potentially dangerous, and it's very important to use that word. People are also potentially dangerous, aren't we? If you go poke the wrong people, well, you can also get hurt. So animals, you need to understand their behavior and give them space. If you don't give them space, if you see an elephant and we just go walk up to the elephant might get upset and, well, much bigger than me, it's going to squash me. So it's better to be aware of that and to just give animals space and to observe what they're doing. And if they start changing their behavior, then you have to stop doing what you're doing. I hope that answers your question, Katie. But yes, lions and leopards, they can be quite vicious when they fight each other. They can be extremely vicious and violent when they fight each other. Hyena as well. It's part and parcel of what they do to survive. They have to be very strong, very physical. And so that leads to lots of fighting and lots of tooth and claw marks. But hopefully we'll find you our beautiful little Prince Hosana. He is probably hiding in the shade because it is very, very hot. Hello, Skyly. You want to know how many leopards live in the area? Well, I've seen 6 in this area, but there are potentially between 9 and 12. That's incredible, isn't it? So they do come and go. They don't always stick to exactly the boundaries that everybody thinks that they have. So over the last probably 4 or 5 years, and a lot of the people out there that watch all the time could probably correct me, but over the last 4 or 5 years there's been between 9 and 12 leopards that have come in and out of this area. So that is a lot of leopards, and it's because the habitat is so perfect for them. You can see around us there's lots of thick bushes. We've got some dry riverbeds that have got some thick bushes as well. There's lots of small animals such as scrub hares, francolins, guinea fowls, and all sorts of little things for the leopards to feed on. So there's lots of food for them, and that's why we do find lots of leopard in this environment. And it's not only leopards that we find, other animals are moving through, and Sydney, as you already know, is with his big jumbo.
So you can see how this very big animal can easily hide behind these trees. Sorry for that. So you can see that this elephant is hiding just behind these trees right in front of us. It's quite a very big animal. They can grow up to 5.5, up to 6 meters, and that is a huge animal. You can see the tail has got quite a lot of hairs on it there. So this hairs, is what this elephant is using in order to chase away the flies. Very thick hairs. It's waving us. Eva, the elephants here in Juma, they don't have names, but in some areas, elephants, they do get some of the names. But here, elephants, they don't have names. The elephants are related to a very small animal. They are related to an animal which is called a hyrax. It's a rock daisy. There is quite a lot of similar characteristics between these two. The foot structure is also closely related, and the teeth structure is related. They also both got a similar kind of a built-in reproductive organs. So please don't get confused. You will be seeing quite a lot of poles as we are watching these animals, because the rain is promising today where we are. So for safety reasons, we brought some roof. So this elephant is heading now to the dam. We might have a great sighting. I can see it's slowly going down there. Maybe it's time for this elephant to drink, or might get there and do some swimming. So I just want to pull forward. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara where David is waiting.
Well, boys and girls, welcome to a different country and a different area, and I'm sure you might have seen me before. This is Kenya, and we are in a game reserve that we call the Mara Triangle. Now, the first thing I would want you to notice is the difference in terms of vegetation between me and Steve and Sydney in South Africa, where I am. Here, we have more open country than you have seen down in South Africa. And this open country that is a grassland and some scattered trees, it is called the savannah. I'm sure all of you have heard savannah. Definitely at one point, Sydney or Steve told you, we like getting questions or comments from you, and I'm going to remind you the same, that your questions and your comments are very helpful for us because you keep us engaged, and sometimes by hearing questions from you, we learn also new things and we'll be happy to educate you as much as we can. I just want to park at one point and turn the car around, and you'll see how open the Mara is compared to Juma, and even also something else, it's very, very green here, unlike the Mara. Liam, very good, and thank you for your question. And you would like to know whether do I like living in Africa? Yes, I do love living. I was bred here, I would say born and bred here, and it's just wonderful. Look at this kind of office that I work in, and look at my environment. It's green, it's so lush at the moment, it's so fresh, it smells very good, and I got such a huge office. Look at that, Leah. And it's always very quiet, and any one time I get this beauty and serenity interrupted, it will be either interrupted by an animal, be it a giraffe or an elephant passing somewhere. Who would not want to live here? Who would not want to work here? This is one of the areas I love. So having been born here, having lived here like almost all my life, I love it every day. So my plan today is to possibly, if I can, to get you boys and girls some lions. I am working very hard to make sure that happens. See the forest in the background there? So we have the open grassland. You see how green it is? And in the background, we have the tree line there. And that tree line there, the animals that could be living there, either elephants or maybe rhinos. And rhino is a very good, that kind of vegetation for rhinos to live in. You see amounts of water on the ground there. It's because it has been raining the last couple of days. So in Kenya now we have what we call the short rains, and they might be going on until after Christmas or maybe up to the New Year. How beautiful is that? And in the background you can see a hill there, and that hill is called Olororo Escarpment. And I think, Leah, that was your question. Do I love living in Africa? I live on top of that little top hill there. That's where I live, and that's where my camp is. Well, we'll take you back to Sydney and find out what his elephant is doing.
So you can see that the elephant is very thirsty at the moment. He ran all the way down to the water hole, and here is he. He is now starting to pick up quite a lot of water from the trunk. He can be able to accommodate about 8 liters in the trunk. So that trunk is so powerful, and is consisted of quite a lot of muscles. So you can see now that he does have just one task. You can find the elephants sometimes on a different color, but you must check where that elephant is coming from and what he was doing. The very same elephant we are seeing here, normally after drinking, they swim in these water holes, and after swimming, the color of the body turns very dark. And if you see him like that and don't check that is coming from the water hole, you might think that is the original color of the elephants. Sometimes you'll see them very dirty and similar to the color of soil. Because of the mud they are throwing on the body, the color changes, the animal changes the color more to the soil. So he can be able to drink 150 to 200 liters of water a day. Hazel, we are still, let me say, we are still at the beginning of our rainy season, as we have only received good rains about 2 weeks ago, which was for the first time. And look at that. Now he's starting to cool the body temperature. He's doing some water bath. So the bush is not completely dry at the moment. It has been revived a little bit with quite a lot of water and water holes. This water hole we are on now, it was completely dry. But now it has got a lot of water, and there's been quite a lot of water for the past 2 weeks. Animals are coming to drink every day, and water is still here. So we are hoping, there's a prediction of the rain. It might rain tomorrow. Leon, elephant is the largest land mammal. What is a land mammal? A land mammal, it means is those animals that are occurring on land. This animal can be able to weigh up to 5,000 kilograms, but it's not the tallest. You will get the giraffe, which is smaller in terms of the body size, but taller when it's standing together with the elephants. So this is the largest and heaviest on land, whereas the tallest you will have the giraffe here in Africa. A storm, the elephant trunks can be long. I'm not too sure in terms of the actual fully grown size. So you can see that now he's moving. So it means he just had a little bit of water. Maybe he has also been drinking somewhere next to this water hole earlier on. Animals don't mind drinking from the potholes when there's water available, so they can just drink anywhere and everywhere. He did not drink too much. Maybe it's just about cooling the body temperature a little bit. So now I am going to move on to one of the biggest water holes and see if we cannot find any other interesting animals there, as now the elephant is starting to move away from the water hole. So now let's go back to Steve, who is still on a leopard search.
I am, sitters, and well, we are checking all the watering points because, like your elephant, the elephants love to drink water. These little pans that are accumulating, it's from rainfall, only from rainfall. We've had a little bit of rain. We're hoping we're going to get some more this afternoon. And this is an area that's just on the side of one of our dry riverbeds. We're going to drive into the riverbed, very nice, thick sort of foresty like riverbed, and this is where in there we found and left that male leopard this morning. We were walking on foot and he disappeared from us. We weren't able to follow him, but it's better in a vehicle to watch these things because, as we said before about animals being vicious, you don't want to get too close to them, and in a vehicle, much better, much easier. So we're going to drive down into the riverbed now. We were hoping to maybe see him hanging around with this little bit of a pan. So from all of the class, you want to know where the animals get water when it's not rainy season. Well, there are some large rivers in the Kruger National Park and in the Masai Mara, the Mara River itself, that are running with water all year round because they come from so far away that they get rain from the west. But then there are some big sort of man-made dams in the Kruger Park that most of them hold water for a long period of time, where Sydney is down at the bottom. At Chitwa, that is a man-made dam, so that holds water for much, much longer. And sometimes we've got a couple of pans close to our camp that we actually pump water into, the same water that we drink. And it's very important because the problem is although the Kruger National Park is so big, Oh, sorry, I've got a roof on and there are branches. Because the Kruger National Park is so big, it still has fences around it. So because we put fences there, we stop the animals from going elsewhere, so we have to provide water for them. So it's very important that there is water provided, because in times of drought, when we have very low rainfall, well, lots of animals will die, because you need lots of water. A lot of animals need lots of water, and without it, well, unfortunately, they won't make it. So very important. Water provision is one of the things you learn in conservation when you are maintaining and managing animals, is that they need water. They're not all able to survive without it. Okay, so here we are in the riverbed. Sophia, fish most certainly do. There's a couple of fish known as barbel or catfish that are very common in the muddy waters. I don't know why my ears aren't sounding great. They live in the muddy waters. There's other things also from Mozambique called tilapia that we find there, and that is most of the time what the crocodiles actually feed on. But in these small pans like the one you saw, probably no fish there because they're not connected to any river. But this is the river. Very dry, isn't it? But every now and again this will flood and the water will go all the way down, and hopefully we're going to get that this year. I haven't seen it. I've only been here for about a year. I haven't seen this river flowing, but it most certainly does from time to time. But it's not one of the permanent rivers that we get in the Kruger Park because of the catchment isn't very big. If you know what the catchment is, it's like a bucket. It's where the water falls and that will come down the stream. But the bucket of this river is very small, so we don't get that much rain. But hopefully this year we'll see it flood, because this river goes all the way down to the other side of the Sabi Sands, and it's a very important river for the ecosystem. But along here, animals like to move. As you can see, we're moving nice and slowly. We had some elephant here this morning. They were busy feeding because there's lots and lots of leaves and greenery on the trees, because although it is a dry riverbed, if we had to dig quite deep, we would find water. And so the trees in these riverbeds are very tall and they have lots of green leaves. And that is why you find so many animals here throughout the year. Even when it's completely dry, these big trees have got leaves. Well, we're going to go a little bit further up over here. Hopefully we'll be able to find the little chief. He is quite camouflaged, so we've got to keep all our wits about us. But in the meantime, David is up in the Mara and he's looking for a bigger cat.
Well, boys and girls, I only have to tell Steve good luck, and hopefully he might be able to spot a leopard for you. And I've also been working very hard to see if I could get a lion for you, because if Steve is going to spot a leopard for you and I'm lucky to spot a lion for you, we shall be talking of what we call the big five animals of Africa. Because we initially saw buffaloes with me, and I think you also saw some elephant with Sydney, and now talking of lions and buffaloes, we shall be coming to a list of 5 animals in Africa that we call the big 5, and I'm sure you know them, which are elephants, buffaloes, lions, leopards, and rhinos. So those are the 5 big animals of Africa, and I'll be very happy if at least we could get all of them today, or minimum maybe 4. So Steve, hopefully he's going to work very hard to get leopard, and me, I want to work very hard at least to get a lion for you, or maybe lions. That's exactly what I'm doing. But I tell you, leopards and lions are very interesting animals because they tend to hide, or what we say, to blend in, or they camouflage. And what they do, lions be lying in a grass in such an area, and if they lie flat, I can tell you, I might look and miss, because I'm sure you might have seen lions before. They have the same color as the ground. So unless I'm lucky to see one twitching at his tail, or maybe the ear, or when they raise their head up, I could be looking and keep passing the lions. Leopards the same. Sometimes you see leopards on top of trees, and the trees they choose to be in, they blend in also very well with, in those trees. If they are on the ground, then that's when we say we are lucky, because on the ground they'll always be walking and it's very easy for us to spot them. Now I've come out from an area where I guessed or I thought I would see lions. I didn't see them. I'll get to a bigger road where maybe I'll drive a little bit fast and see if I'll be lucky. Jolie, good question. Are there lions in the savannah? Yes, actually, even in Juma in South Africa, where Sydney and Steve are, there are parts of the vegetation that you call savannah. As much as here in Kenya or in the Masai Mara, we have bigger savannah than there. Yes, we have lions in the savannah, Jolie, and that's why I would say it's a lot easier for us to spot lions here in the Masai Mara savannah than in South Africa, which indirectly I am giving myself a lot of pressure to make sure at one point I get lions for you. So I want to keep my eyes opened, and I'm looking very hard, and my camera operator with me today, Archie, is also helping. So sometimes I look one side and then he also looks on the other. So we got a set of 2 pairs of eyes, 4 eyes. We should be able at one point to get a lion or 2 out of the savannah, Jolie. So you all need to keep your fingers crossed. You all need also to keep your toes crossed, and we all look together. There are times you've made jokes as a presenter or guide. I'm driving, looking, and I miss something. But the camera sometimes will look and spot something. In the meantime, I want to show you an animal where if lions are hungry, will always come and eat this kind of antelope here. Morgan, that's a very good question, and you're asking how big can a lion get? Well, I'll tell you, Morgan, some females could be about 400 pounds in weight, the very heavy ones, and some of the males could be 450 up to 500 pounds in weight. You can imagine. And those big lions would be able to come and catch an antelope like this one here. And this one is called a topi. T-O-P-I, topi. And apparently there are 2 of them. And they're just enjoying the sunshine there. You can see it's pretty sunny there. And what they're doing is just laying down. They have eaten enough and they could just be having a rest. So we got so many antelopes in Africa where males got horns and females got no horns. This particular 2, both males and females got horns, and sometimes the male is slightly bit larger, or the horns a little bit larger than the females. If you look carefully, he was chewing earlier on, and what they do when they have eaten enough, they swallow as much as they can, and then they'll always bring the food out of their stomach and rechew it to smaller patterns. That is called regurgitating, or they regurgitate by bringing the food out of their tummies and back to their mouth. They chew it to smaller particles and then swallow it again. Hello, Topi. Aren't you boys and girls, you're happy to see a Topi there? They go in groups, either 5, 10, sometimes up to 20, but these particular ones are 2. This one is very cold. Zoe, how many different animals live here? We got so many types or so many different types of animals here. But I'll give you an average of about 50 different mammals that live here. 50 different mammals that we live here. And also we got so many bird species, about 450 bird species. And I think I should be looking for some birds for you as much as I'm looking for mammals. If I see a bird also, I will definitely stop. You see, the Topi is waking up now. Is it time to stretch? Ooh, good. And you see how colorful he is. He got so many different colors on his body. A bit of grayish, a bit of brown. But the first thing they do once they wake up, they will need to look and know they are safe before they even make a move. Topis are herbivores. They only eat green matter, and they'll always be feeding on grass. So there they are, 2 of them, a little scratch there on the neck. Maybe there's a parasite, or maybe a flea, or maybe a tick. Very good, Lucas, good question, you're asking what they eat. And when I was saying herbivores, Lucas, it means they eat green matter. And ideally, these tortoise here will always eat grass. Now, you see that one standing on top of that termite mound there? Number one, it gets raised on the ground, and that way, Lucas, it can see if there are any enemies coming to them. Enemies, I'm talking about either lions or cheetahs or leopards. So again, as I said, before they move, they'll have to up and look around to make sure that they are very safe. Well, we'll take you back to South Africa, to Sydney, and I think he got a different type of animal maybe. It got some feathers.
I am here now at one of the biggest water holes. This is the Chitwa water hole, where I have got a school of the hippopotamus who seem to be enjoying themselves here during this very strong sun at the moment. So you can see that they are now very much settled, and some of them are submerging, enjoying the water in order to cool their body temperatures. Unfortunately, the hippopotamus cannot survive without water. So without water, it becomes a challenge. They experience quite a lot of sunburn. They don't have sweat glands, but they do have other means they are using in order to avoid sunburn. So they've got a very thick skin which secretes some of the fluid, and this fluid is the one that helps them when it comes to sunburn. Abby and Ella, the elephants and the hippos, they are not of the same size. Yes, these are part of the big mammals here in Africa. If you can check, the elephant weigh up to 5,000 kilograms, and after the elephant, you are going to have the rhinos, which will weigh from 2,500 to 3,500 kilograms, and you are going to have the hippopotamus following, which is going to weigh up to 1,500 to 1,700 kilograms. So the hippo is still very much small compared to the size of the elephant. Olivia, if you can check here next to the water hole, you will see that the area is much more open. Why? Because these hippopotamus are feeding on the grasses which is occurring around here, and they are the ones responsible to cut this grass short. Hippopotamus, they've got very big teeth. Don't get confused. Their teeth are just there for defense. They concentrate on a vegetation diet. They are grazers. They don't eat trees. They only eat grass. Hippopotamus can stay together with the crocodiles. It's just that today here, I am not lucky with the crocodiles. Crocodiles, they eat meat, but they can be able to share the same area with the hippopotamus. Submerged there, they look very much small. And now is the time for me to say goodbye, and thank you very, very much for all your interesting questions and comments. You have been very good to us. I hope we'll meet next time again. You can see that we are still here at the water hole. Oh, here comes the crocodile approaching a little island not very far away from where we are. So it was difficult to spot a crocodile this afternoon. Look at that. So you can see that this crocodile is just about to climb the wall. Maybe it's going to come out or not. We're just going to wait and see what is going to happen. And a very, very good afternoon and welcome to the beginning of the normal drive. This is Sydney Mikosi together with Craig, my camera operator. You can follow us on Twitter. You can also send your questions on Twitter, #SafariLive. Follow us on YouTube too. So the crocodiles are not coming out a lot. I was here a few days ago and the crocodiles, they were just submerged. It doesn't look like an animal. You can see when it's there. It is like a dead tree. So this is one of the dangerous predators because when they catch something, they drag it onto the water hole and suffocate it. Some of the animals, they get lucky because hippopotamus, they do defend them. That is a lovely call. Elizabeth, we are indeed expecting some rain. It has been predicted for tomorrow, which is a Thursday. But, you know, the weather is always unpredictable. It might change. We might get some rain today or not get some rain tomorrow. So not quite a lot of animals are coming to drink here at the moment. I'm sure this is due to the fact that there is quite a lot of water around the reserve at the moment. There's quite a lot of birds. The Ama falcons are very much excited here at the moment. So now let's go back to Steve and hear how his leopard search is going.
Thanks, Sydney. Well, we are searching and searching, and we haven't yet come across any male leopard, but I'm pretty sure if he's anywhere around here, he's going to be flat in the shade. But we've been going along the drainage, along the dry riverbed, and looking at all these little watering points. It's amazing how leopards will still drink from them even when they're very muddy. So this is still quite clean in comparison. We saw how Tingana and Hosana was drinking from very muddy water in Treehouse Dam, even twin dams towards the end of the season. So this is still quite doable. So it's always important to come and have a look at these little pans and little wallows and see, are there any tracks? Because if he's coming at a drink, he's probably just moved off away somewhere and is hiding just underneath a small bush in the shade, because it is still quite warm. The rain is teasing us. It's in the distance. We can smell it. We had some drops on us, but no respite for us this afternoon. Some hyena tracks, an elephant, rhino. Hello, Taz. Yes, we've been looking for Hosana. We had him this morning very briefly. We saw his bottom, so I'm thinking it was Hosana. By the tracks, it seemed to be him anyway. But he didn't stick around. We tried to follow up, but he moved off and into the Mulwati drainage system. It's quite dense and quite thick. It was very hard to follow him any further in it. Then we ran out of time. So we've just tried to have a little scratch around this afternoon, coming to some of his favorite areas, and maybe we'd find him, but there's a good chance he is flat. So we've been looking very hard, but he might just be lying down underneath a thicket somewhere. So we might move off, go do some other things, and then as it cools down, maybe move back into this area, because you know, once it cools down, it's a lot easier for these animals to move around, and well then they generally just pop out on the road for us, and then there's not that much work required. But we're also going to do a bit of a loop around this block, see if we can find any of his tracks that maybe came across, because we left him inside here this morning. And well, just do a little quiet little drive along here. There's a very nice drainage down here that he might have moved along, and if he hasn't come across, then he's probably still in there enjoying some shade, because well, since we left him this morning it hasn't got any cooler, so a good chance that he's done absolutely nothing. If he's got a kill somewhere, we don't know about it. If he might be feeding on it if he does have one, but there was a good chance that he went and had a drink at one of the small pans or puddles around. But the problem is there are so many of them around at the moment. But down here in these little depressions where it's nice and cool, we almost feel like we want to just park off underneath a tree for a little bit, just to get a little bit of shade. Look at that. Very nice and beautiful down here. I've had Thandi in here a number of times. We could have brought a blanket, Emma, indeed, and had a little sundown and a picnic in the drainage depression. Dave and I were actually just chatting about that one of these days we're going to get everybody together and go and have ourselves a little bit of a pool party. Yeah, pool party for all the Juma staff, all the people that are going to be grinning and bearing the heat during the Christmas period. We've got to have some fun as well, you know. Obviously it'll be a sober affair. Have to be if we're working. Okay, so we're going to keep going through here. This is an area where we could potentially have any of the cats moving through. We're probably going to find an elephant at some stage, but in the meantime, David has found some lions.
Very good. Good luck on Hosanna. And I think I've got some luck on some cats. And seeing a vulture there, it would mean maybe this vulture is scavenging on something. And I think that's the hooded vulture. And if it's scavenging on something, definitely the killers are not very far. And there they are appearing on the screen one after the other. I'm guessing this is the marsh pride. We've got so many lion prides in the Mara, and this particular pride here is called the marsh pride. They're just next or close to the marsh, and they must have gotten something last night. I do not know what they brought down. I just found them here, and this particular one here, it's so full. And of course, if a cat is full, is happy. That's exactly what lions do. They just tend to go flat. So that's number 2, and I think now that is the big guy, and the male belongs to a coalition of lions. Oh, it's a zebra, definitely. I can tell. I can see a bit of black and white there. So it's a zebra, and either they're having a bit of a fight as they feed there. I've seen many predators, not many predators that eat peacefully, apart from maybe the wild dogs. But you can see the lions there were having a little scuffle. And the male there must be from the Quichua males. We're not very far from that territory, and this territory is controlled and run by the Quichua males, which has 3 main boys, 3 big males, and definitely that must be one of them. We have one that we call the half-tail, and there's another male that we call Fang, and another one. So I do not know who this is, because he's eating facing the other way, and you can tell those lionesses are so full, and they're having the best. Oops! See how males. Well, is he fighting another male or some females there? Somehow, the lions, I would say, have no table manners. And males, more often than not, they tend to control the dining table. In general, like in a pride like this, I would say, the females do the bigger job of stalking, laying ambush, and finally hunting, you know, the prey, but the males always tend to take advantage of that. I'm sure you had seen me before, and for those who may not have seen me earlier, my name is David. That has not changed, and with me today is Archie. Archie, how is it going? Archie is excited just like me to have seen the lions. Remember, we're always on a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions or any comments, please don't forget to send them through #SafariLive, and you can also keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. This is the Mara Triangle, and it's one wilderness as beautiful as it is like in Joma. Rosalind, vultures are scavengers, or sometimes you call them raptors, and they are very good in smelling, I would say, any kill, like that vulture you see there, which I guess that could be the hooded vulture. What they'll do when they're flying, like say during the day, they use heat thermals. They got wonderful sight. If they don't smell like hyenas, because hyenas, I think they got a better sense of smell than vultures. Vultures, their sight, I would say, it's just wonderful. So come morning, they start flying a little bit, and as the day warms up, there's enough thermals in the air. They use the heat thermals to look on the ground, and definitely, like these lions here, they'll definitely spot them. And what they'll do, they'll come to trees close to them and wait until the killers leave, and then they'll scavenge and what's left behind. So I'd say well done to the Marsh Pride. They've got some dinner. It could be early this morning or last night. I'm not very sure what time. They brought this zebra down, but I'm sure they have got enough to eat for everybody. This male here is quite aggressive and like, you know what? Eat me to it. And that's not unusual. We have seen many times the females doing all the job. And even before they start eating, once the males pick it up, they just arrive in style. Now, we've got two females there, I guess, and this one particular male. You can see the size of this boy here. Look at his big mane. And should he feel that the females are eating so much, he just growls at them. And they you know, step back, or they fight and go back to eating. Well, I'll continue watching this, and maybe what I'll be doing for the next few minutes, I will look for a different position, maybe reposition myself, and then see whether I'll be able to see the faces of these beautiful cats. Meanwhile, I'll take you back to South Africa, to Stivovo.
Thanks, David. Well, as soon as we went off from you, we found some tracks of a female leopard. Judging by the area, it could have been Tundi, but unfortunately, they've been driven all over from this morning, I think. But there's an area she used to frequent. I'm trying to think when last I saw her. She definitely likes this area here a lot, and on the left-hand side here, I've found her and spent much time with her in these areas. But unfortunately, if she has been walking along the road for quite a distance, I can't see it. But we're going to still keep doing our little loop here, just because the little chief's tracks would be on top of the vehicle tracks from this morning. If he did come out, there's nothing so far, so there's a good chance he's still in there. And once we know that he's still in there, well, then it makes it a bit easier later when we come. Well, just obviously a little bit of luck as well involved in moving through the areas trying to find him, but sometimes luck is on our side, isn't it, Darby? Driving very slowly through, although if we did drive faster, the cool breeze in our face would be so much more rewarding. But tracking this time of year on the ground is a bit trickier, because when there's been rain, the ground is a bit harder. Even tracking, I mean, on the road it's probably a bit easier because of the vehicle movement and the tracks on the road. Vehicle churns up the soil, makes it a bit easier to see tracks. But once you go off-road there, the tracking can be very, very difficult. Even Herbie this morning, our expert tracking professional, was having a hard time. Obviously he whizzed through it, of course, but a little bit harder than in the winter months. First of all, you can see much further as well, and you don't get surprised by so many elephants in the winter because you know where they are. Now, I mean, we bumped into two herds this morning and didn't even know they were there. Of course Herbie knew they were there, but me with one deaf ear because of the earpiece, sometimes it's hard to hear where these things are coming from. Christine, you would like to see Hukumuri, would you? Well, Hukumuri and I, we've got a special little relationship. He likes to show me warthogs that he catches. I haven't seen him in ages. I haven't seen a Juma leopard apart from Hosanna this morning in 3 months. Can you believe that? Wow. So I haven't seen Hukumuri in months. It's been a long time. This afternoon, I mean, hopefully we're going to find Hosanna for you. We might be lucky and just bump into Tundi. And you know how it works sometimes, because the leopards haven't been seen for the last few days. All three, Tundi, Tingana and Tundi. Oh, Hosana might just pop out and have a bit of a family reunion. Tristan was getting lots of that while I was up in the Mara. I was super jealous watching all these activities of those 3 leopards. Just ridiculous, as he said. And then it happened again, and it's like, this is ridiculous times 2, you know. Anyway, I think before I left, I was just down the road here with Seb. Before I left to go up to the Mara, Seb and I had Hosana on a nyalakil in a tree, and Tingana came running. Tristan was following Tingana. Tingana came running and displaced him out the tree. And a few days before that, I had Tingana killing a warthog. Warthogs, well, they don't do very well here. Leopards really do enjoy them. Okay, well, we're still looking very deliberately on the ground. Oh, feel the breeze. That is lovely. Can you show them that lovely ominous cloud coming there, Darby? Is that a bit tricky? Come on, rain. We need you so badly. We need you. We need you. It's coming, but it's very far away. We haven't heard any noises. You can kind of see the rain falling. It looks quite ominous from FC Emma's saying, but hopefully the wind is going to change and it's going to blow in here and we're going to get a nice downpour. We've put the roofs on to preempt it. That's what happens if we'd left the roofs off. You know, it would have been raining already. But we've got to be good boys to make sure we don't get all the equipment wet and damaged. Am I right, Darby? Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh, here comes the wind. The wind is coming. Hopefully the rain will come with it. Well, anyway, Sydney, I think, has left Chitwa Dam. I think he might be popping over to Torchwood, but let's go and have a look.
This afternoon, I am going to Torchwood. Maybe I might be lucky with Tandy or Kalamba by Torchwood. So I'm just about to enter Torchwood now. So I haven't seen Kalamba and Tandy for quite a long time. Let's hope this afternoon is our day to see them. Call 6, I did not copy your question very well to do with Kalamba. Call 6, Kalamba has been alone for quite a while now, and they have been spotted there. Sometimes they are seen together, but most of the time Kalamba is just by herself. So I'm sure now she is very well experienced. Maybe she is learning now how to hoist a kill up into the tree. So I am hoping Jonathan, indeed, Kalamba is quite a very big girl by now, I am sure. I'm just trying to check here because we saw some lion tracks also in the area looking very fresh. And I just want to at least use the road where we might also be lucky with them if they are heading towards the waterhole. We are already inside the Torchwood at the moment. It is very much green. I just got back to the border a little bit so that I can use the road which is parallel to where the lion tracks are. So I just want to try and hit 2 birds with 1 stone. Lots of impalas. So Kalamba has got quite a lot to eat in this area. She must be growing a lot by now. Hello, there's, if you can check, there's quite a lot of contradictions from different information sources. Some will tell you lions can run 80 kilometers per hour, which is 22.2 meters per second full speed. And that is very fast. So they don't run that fast for quite a long time. It's just for a short distance. And normally if they don't catch, they give up. Oh, there's some old labor tracks as well where I am. At least now we're starting to build more confidence that here we are at a possible area for the leopards. The Unkuhumas, I saw them very far away from here. I saw them when they were crossing towards, they were crossing the Triple M, which is a road bordering us by the southern side with the other reserves. So they are not here. This is not their tracks. They are very far. In terms of kilometers, I can say they have crossed more than 5 kilometers away from where we are. And they crossed after they came out from Buffalo's Hook. They were not coming from this direction. Competition is too high. Steve is also in search of the leopards, and let's see how his search is doing.
Competition, Sidders. I didn't know we were having a competition. We were just, you know, driving around, just seeing what we could find. Obviously, we'd like to find a leopard, but he's still in the block here somewhere. No tracks have come out. I know that Sydney's had some luck with Columbo over the last few weeks on Torchwood. I haven't been on Torchwood as well in some time, so looking forward to getting over there. But yeah, it would be lovely to find your leopard. It's definitely starting to cool down. The cloud cover is covering the sun, so we're not getting any more thermal radiation, which is quite nice. You can just see it through the gap there in the sky. And the sun that's still supposed to be up for a little while has gone and set on us now. But Rick, why is weather unpredictable? Well, the thing is, in the Lowveld here, when we're in the summer months, the sun is directly above us, okay? Normally in the winter, the sun is, sorry, at that angle, so it reflects off the earth and doesn't give too much solar radiation. But in the summer months, you get this heat coming down, and it causes all sort of convection currents, moisture, evaporation, and electricity, and that leads to thunderstorms. But because we don't have any mountains nearby here, the rain has developed there around the escarpment, which is probably about 70, 80 kilometers from where we are, so about 40 odd miles, and so it needs to move up against a mountain like that to then pour down. So it comes down from the mountains and then it dissipates in certain areas. It's called orographic rain in the area here, and it doesn't fall in one place. Just because it's raining, it doesn't mean the entire landscape is covered with rainfall. So that is probably one of the major reasons. But it's static electricity, which often leads to lots of lightning and thunderstorms and the evaporation of all the moisture from the ocean and also from the land. The bodies of water inland lead to enormous amounts of downpour, but it is not guaranteed in a specific area. You can get days or times when there's cyclones off the coast and huge amounts of moisture push in, and that's a really big system that then covers the entire Lowveld, but that doesn't happen all the time. These afternoon thunderstorms that we get are all a product basically of very hot weather during the day. Very, very hot weather, which we've been experiencing. You generally get 2, maybe 3 days of really scorching hot, and then thunderstorm comes, washes it all down. But sometimes we're not lucky, we don't get it ourselves. Anyway, we've done a big loop, there's no tracks coming out, so we're going to assume that he's probably just inside. Nico viewer, you want to know if there's a typhoon coming? I don't think we get typhoons here that I know of. I know we get cyclones every now and again off the coastline, off the Mozambican coast, and that leads to very big high weather spells, lots of rain, lots of wind. But last one we had was a while ago. It's not a guaranteed thing, but global warming is happening, and we're seeing higher incidences of flooding and cyclones and hurricanes and typhoons all over the world. But Africa doesn't get too bad in the form of that. So the cyclones we got, I think 3 years ago, were pretty crazy. They really lifted sort of the sea level. They caused all sorts of flooding along the coast, and there was huge amounts of rain that fell all over the country. I remember I happened to be driving. It was not fun. Not fun when that happened. Anyway, we're now heading north towards Buffelshoek Dam. We've done a big loop around that area, nothing coming out. We're going to have a look through this drainage line here. Is also a very popular one for our cats to hang out in. Nice and sort of shaded. When it's hot, shade is the way forward, folks. It really, really is. Nice green, comfortable grass. And as I said before, with little puddles of water like this, there's so many of them around. So generally in the dry season, you find these puddles, or you find the sort of water sources, and the animals are generally quite localized to those. But because they're all over the place, these cats could really be anywhere. Elephant tracks up and down. We've got a good chance of probably finding some elephants on our little while now. Safari Wild Man, you are 100% right there. When I came to Juma, I mean, you're basically saying that we see leopards so often that we forget that they're wild. You know, the leopards that we find in Juma is ridiculous for the amount of leopards we find. I think before I came to Juma, I only had a handful of leopards in like a year. In one entire year working in the bush, I maybe had 3 or 4 leopards in that entire year working and training in the bush. Or should I say, at 3 years I worked at eco training, I think I got maybe 5 leopards in 3 years. So that is not a lot of leopards. I got 2 leopards here on my interview drive. So this place is ridiculous for cats, and I know that everybody loves our leopards. We do love our leopards. I love the leopards here. This time of year, when it's wet, when it's been raining, when there's greenery around, the animals are spread out, that is much harder to find. So we do try, we will do our best, but we're going to have to also spend a lot of time getting into the trees. And I've brought Trishala out with me this afternoon, who's going to be taking over in a few minutes, and who knows what wonderful information she's going to be sharing with you. Dave is doing a little bit of a dance in the back there. She is now as well. So I just thought I'd spend a little bit of time driving around, see if we could find Osana, and I'll be handing over the reins to her very shortly on our next little break. And then who knows where she's going to take us. I'm going to leave it all into her hands. Oh, there's a woodpecker that's just gone into the tree. You're not going to be able to see him, I don't think. He's got into the knobthorn at the back there. Oh no, he's not visible. Sorry about that. It looked like a small woodpecker, but he's hidden. He went into the hole in the tree. Everything's hiding from us this afternoon. Okay, well, we're going to keep heading north. As I suggested, you're going to be losing me in a few minutes, but in the meantime, let's go see how Sydney's getting on finding the elusive Kalamba.
I am still looking around the Torchwood area. No luck yet. Quite a lot of hyena tracks where I am at the moment. And when the hyenas are roaming around, normally, as we have witnessed on several occasions, the leopards are around. So these hyenas, they are being assisted a lot by these leopards when it comes to the diet. James, unfortunately, these vehicles, they don't have a tracking device for emergencies, but they do have a base radio. This base radio, I can be able to call the people for assistance to come from very far. So if anything happens here, I can be able to reach the office and the recovery vehicle will come and help us. Just want to confirm something here on this road. I got stuck on several occasions because sometimes technical problem, technical issues. Sometimes we do by the artifact holes and by these drainage lines. The vehicles now and with the 4x4 still do it. So then we call the others to come.
So sorry about that, guys. We seem to have a slight difficulty technically, but nonetheless you have me and I am always excited to take you guys on board. And remember, please communicate with us using that hashtag SafariLive and of course the YouTube chat stream. Now, we are hopefully hot on the tail of Hasana. Probably not yet, but we have been seeing some tracks, and like wonderful Steve has said, we are going north up to Buffelshoek. Now, I know I have driven with you guys some other times before, and you know that I love the waterholes. There's always so much happening. So that is where I intend to go right now. Of course, with always Hasana in mind. Now, actually speaking of Hasana, and Steve did say to you that on his interview drive, he saw Hasana twice. How lucky is that? Oh, well, leopards twice. Now, when I came for my interview drive, as soon as I entered the reserve, it must have been 50 meters from the gate, there he was. Almost like he was welcoming me. I took it as a good omen, and look, here I am in the hot seat. See, Darby remembers that he was with me. He picked me up that day. Old Hasana. You know, you tend to actually fall in love with them a little bit. His fidgety little tail. And yes, M says he is such a good performer, and yes, he does. He never disappoints. Hasana. And coming from a scientific background, you don't think of animals in that way, or you don't think that you're going to have some sort of relationship or affection tied to them. But somehow he just crawls up in there and he steals your little heart, or at least my little heart, and I'm sure a lot of you viewers as well. Old Hasana. I can't wait to actually watch him become the strong male leopard. The viewers are wondering what other leopards I've seen. Well, I have seen Lalandi, and in fact, Lalanda had her own song for me now. La 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 la. That's my song for her. Poor little cat. I remember we sometimes, if we have a sighting, then we'll, as trainees, we'll go out and we'll also have a look so we can learn as much as we can. Couldn't see her. could not see her. And I drove right past, and she was literally in the bush just looking up at me. Indescribable experiences. Oh, the one I have to tell you about, Tingana. When I Tingana, well, actually do some drone tests. And then Seb was on the drone, and sure, I'm just going to maybe have a listen and then tell you my story. Everything seems quite quiet, actually. But Tingana, what a story. So here we are doing the drone testing, and we have the thermal camera. Sorry, I just heard a squirrel alarm calling. Now, squirrels are unfortunately notoriously unreliable. But this one seems quite persistent. Let's just listen for a few seconds. Still going at it. Can you hear that, guys? I would like to actually check that out. I hope that... is that okay? Like I said, we were having a few technical difficulties, so I'm just checking with that it's okay. But I have to tell you my Tingana story. I'm not going to let it go. But while I look for whatever the squirrel is alarm calling at, let me send you over to David in the Masai Mara and see what he's got for you.
Hey, well, Trish, or the very best. Some of these birds are very good in helping to identify where a predator would be. Some of these alarm calls are so real. Well, there's some alarm calls that are a bit different, and I'm talking of the vultures that you see on that tree there. It could be what I would call a very quiet alarm call. A very quiet alarm call in the sense that seeing vultures there will always translate to something they are waiting for. And something they are waiting for meaning there's something they would want to eat, but maybe the owners are still there, and the owners could be some type of predators. As you see there, we got this pride of lions that could be feeding in that particular area, and shortly we're going to be seeing who is there on the table. More of the vultures. Some of them have the courage to come down. There's a jackal there, you also see. The jackals also scavenge together with the vultures. It depends on who is stronger and who is closer to the dining table. And this marsh pride here, they are still feeding. And you can tell the pecking order here. This guy is or has been eating this meal for the last 20 minutes, and he is not allowing even that female so close to him even to touch the meat. This is the, I would say, the table manners that should be followed. Males first, but I got a feeling the females might have eaten earlier. And you can see the jackal just on the edge trying to come pretty close. For those who have never joined us before, we're in the Mara Triangle, and this is the marsh pride. And they brought down a zebra for themselves. I'm not sure whether it was early this morning. I would guess it must be early this morning or during the day, because I counted about 10 lions, and 10 lions for a zebra, that's a very small meal. I mean, a single lion, a single male in one sitting could eat 20% of its body weight. And I'm giving that male there maybe 400 pounds. So 400 pounds could be like eating almost 80 pounds. That's a lot of meat. And females would be eating the same, of course, depending on whether they were allowed to eat earlier by this particular male. This male is part of our coalition of males that we call the Kichwa males. and the Kichwa males are always 3. One is called Fang and the other one is called Halftail. And remember, our drive is always very interactive. Should you have any questions or any comments, please send them through #SafariLive on Twitter. You can also keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. That one lioness must have fed much earlier, so full, and she is definitely not interested. The same case to these ones. I'm assuming that must have been the case. I didn't see them eating, but from the look, you can tell the bellies don't look as bad. Now, this male with this beautiful mohawk is not allowing anybody else to eat. Early this morning, I had seen 2 other males of another coalition that we call the Onlonyo Pike, but I won't think that this one, this particular male, comes out shining, handsome, bigger mane, much darker. And you can see the females on the other side sleeping, legs up, happy, and they definitely must be very full. What would happen at one point, they may be leaving this area to go have a drink, and with all the short trains we have, there's water all over where we are. And of course, they also get lots of water from the zebra as they eat the meat. We have seen them sometimes just sucking the blood from, the rib cage of the prey that they bring down. So different types of vultures will be coming close to the kill here, and I'm guessing these ones are the hooded vultures. And these vultures might have to wait a little bit longer before they get close to the dining table. But I think Trish also has another blood sucker. Just I'm talking about this male lion sucking blood or getting blood from the ribcage of this zebra here.
Look what I found, something else slightly spotty, but this time completely a different size to the spotty cat we're looking for. We have some ticks. Now, I think these are super, super, super interesting. Look at the color of it. Wonderful, I think. It's just sitting here in some sawtooth love grass. That is what it is. And I think it quite resembles love, don't you think? Bit of pink, kind of like a heart. Maybe that's why the ticks are attracted to it. But I have seen these ticks on other plants as well. Now, I know that it's not a sort of beetle or a bug or hemiptera, because it's got 8 legs, which tells me that it is not part of the insect family. Sorry, David. Sorry. I think they're quite cool. Now, we do know that they can spread quite a bit of disease. You know that they often suck blood out of maybe your pets at home and often on the antelope that we have here. And that the red-billed oxpeckers like to pick them off because they're tasty, for them at least. I think they're quite cool. I've been seeing quite a few of them around. I'd actually love to do a bit more research on them and find out exactly what type they are and what they're after, because most of the time I've seen them on the plants, and to me that doesn't make too much sense. But maybe I'm just catching them in between.
Our beard had a comment that don't they normally come in hundreds?
Our beard had a comment that maybe they always come in hundreds. Now, I can't say I've seen them in hundreds, but on this plant on its own, we have at least, the ones that we can see, there's at least 3. Now, whether there are any on me, Davy and Steve would have to check when I get into the car, won't they? There's even a tiny...
Little pepper ticks.
Ah, so Steve has just told me that the little pepper ticks come in hundreds when they're babies. Now, these guys look a little older than that, so that's why maybe they're not in the hundreds that we're used to. You guys know I like the smaller things, don't I? Anyway, I'm going to jump back in, and let's...
10 seconds to the lines.
Sure. I'm going to jump back in, and I'm going to head up to the dam, like I said. So while I do that, let's go see some big, big cats.
Well, Trish, you better go to the dam. And of course, we have always said in Africa, or I think all over the world, water is life. You might be surprised. You might get something interesting by the water dam. Look at that ostrich. It's running for its life because what he just saw was the lions. He did not know the direction he was going. And as he was walking, he saw the lions. And what do you do when you see an animal that would kill you? And I'm calling it he because it's a male, and he has made a U-turn and like, oh, I'm lucky to have survived. And you can see how he's looking. He's definitely looking at those lions. I would highly doubt the lions would be interested in him because they have enough to eat on that zebra. And I'm sure also the lions know when these birds run, they do fly low. They're very fast. Fast as cheetahs, sometimes doing 50, 60 miles an hour. Pretty fast birds. And looking at this ostrich, look at the neck and the legs. He is very pink. And that is what you call a breeding plumage for a male ostrich. And what he will be doing at the moment is to look for any girls out there who might be excited with him. And if anything happen, we'll see him just having a courtship with some females. But that's not the normal color of the ostrich. It's all, oops, it's time to have a poo break. It's always a bit dull in color, not as pink as it is now, but as it is, you can tell he is definitely interested or in that plumage where the girls could be interested in him and definitely they would start mating. Hello, ostrich. That was quite skittish. You saw how fast he ran, and definitely, I'm sure out of experience, they have known once in a while lions go for them. If he would get very close to those lions, because there's quite a big number there. Steph, you say you would just die on sight. I mean, you're not alone. I mean, that's a great comment, and that's quite scary. And even that ostrich, as much as he was walking towards that direction, either looking for food, be it flowers or some leaves or some grass or whatever he was looking for, and then boom, 10 lions, and especially the male, definitely he's much stronger than you, I would say, because he was able to gather his courage and run away. We're having some beautiful sunset and some vulture on top of trees there. And the lighting is just perfect. As the sun is trying to go home, the clouds look good. But you can see those two vultures there. Also, just like the ones we saw earlier on the ground, they're waiting for the killers to move away. And there could be another one that's coming to land. See how they land? Very good. And these are the African white-backed vultures. And I'm sure, you're enjoying this sighting. And you can see how they fly and land. And that's the torchwood tree. Rather the bosque tree. They may have to wait a couple of minutes until these lions leave. It could be much later because there's still a lot of meat left on that zebra carcass there. So we've got a combination of the African white-backed vultures. We've got the hooded vultures on that bosque tree. And what they have to do is to wait for the lions to leave this kill. And as I was saying earlier, on a single sitting, a fully grown, lion is about 20% its body weight. You say the amazing birds, and especially when you see them in flight or when you see them landing on a tree like that. Well, this buffalo, I'm looking at this buffalo and I'm giving it an estimate of about 150 meters away from the pride of lion. And you, buffalo, you have to be very careful. I was just about to say, well, lions, like this particular pride, have enough to eat, and they already got a zebra. But should that ostrich have strayed itself and landed into them, they will not waste a minute to bring him down. And that could be the same fate to this particular buffalo. He has to be very careful, but I can tell you for a fact, he has no idea that these lions are there. They're just eating flat, in the grass, and they're blending so well. And he makes a mistake. These lions will not necessarily because they're hungry, but lions have been known to take opportunities of when prey passes or gets very close to them. They see what this male will do. We're getting 2 or 3 females and trying to sneak on this kill, and I'm sure this male is going to growl and shout at them and get out of here. At one point, he stood up, and I've been able to identify this one is the half tail of the 3 Quichua males. If he stands up again, you'll notice his tail is like cut, is half, and we call him half tail. Of the 3 males of Quichua males, to me, he is the biggest, or he's the most handsome in terms of the mane and on the body morphology. Please remember to keep asking us questions or keep sending comments. Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. And this one female here must have eaten earlier. You can see her panting. And whoops, there she goes. And I've always thought it's not only males that always sleep for so many hours. People have always said lions will sleep for so many hours. Lions are very lazy. And I have thought, no. Even females, given the same conditions, the same circumstances like the males, enough to eat, enough to drink, they would also comfortably go to the same period of time having a snooze. I mean, since I got here like 40 minutes ago, I've seen like the one having her legs up. She has been like that for the last, 40 minutes. Very good from my lions here, which will keep eating, and I want to stick with them for a little bit longer. Let's go back to South Africa, to Trish, who has a bigger mammal than my lions here.
Yes, I do. I've got a slow animal, but surprisingly they can cover vast distances. You think they're slow, but when they are angry they can definitely move. I think up to 36 kilometers per hour. Check them out. So now we saw them from the road, and they seem to have known that we were coming for a while. Of course, they heard us with the big noisy car. Oh, look at that. I always enjoy elephant sightings. It's actually been a while since I've seen some. Now we are quite close to the dam, and it seems as if everything today is just looking to cool down. Shavat would like to know how much fun it is driving in the Jeep around here. So much fun. It is actually indescribable. It was one of my, something I really enjoyed. So back home I have a little i20, which is a little Hyundai, and it feels like a tin can compared to this. It makes me feel powerful when I drive this thing. Very macho. I do love it.
This is a tin can.
Even though this is a tin can, but this is a bigger tin can, bigger, meaner tin can, and I love it. I love driving, especially off-road. It's quite fun. Now these elephants are kind of out of sight, so I'm gonna move around just a bit to try and get us a better view of them. Okay, let me do that. Now, of course, when we drive off-road, we try our very best to be conscious of the vegetation around us, but as soon as we go over most of these trees, they'll spring right back up. And we aren't doing too much damage. Now, so... Oh, Jane, I didn't quite catch your question. James would like to know which grass species is most nutritious at this time of year. Ooh, that's a tough one to answer. I don't actually know. There's a lot of grass around at the moment, and I mean, elephants do prefer when the grasses are nice and green. It's always better for them. It's got nice and nutritious bits in it. Which one of those are the most nutritious? I'd have to conduct a few tests, I think.
Probably the buffalo grass.
Steve says it's probably the buffalo grass. So it depends on the season whether elephants would eat the grasses or trees. Usually if it's in the winter and the grass is really dry and pretty much horrible, they will go for tree leaves and bark. But then again, in the winter, there's not very many leaves as well. So when it's in the summer and the grasses are shooting up and they're fresh, then the elephants tend to go for them mostly, and then of course leaves. So it's kind of quintessential noise that we hear when we look for elephants are those breaking of the branches, and that's something that I've heard a lot in winter. And it's just amazing how it all comes together the longer we stay here and our knowledge builds. And in the summer, like now, I've heard it less. So that tells me that the elephants are actually eating less of the bark around. And of course that's obvious because it's been raining and everything's been much greener and much more nutritious. Anyway, heading off to the dam now because I have lost the elephants, unfortunately. But we will get them back, hopefully. Let me move. Now, while I move off, I've been trying to get to this dam forever, but that's just how it is. You want to stop for every little thing because it's all just amazing, isn't it? But while I do that and finally get to the dam, let's send you over to David.
Very good, Trish. Keep moving, keep moving. The best thing I've always known when you're out in the African wilderness, whether you got some game or not, is to keep moving because you do not know what you might meet next corner. Now, the party continues here and Halftail is not letting go. He has dragged the bigger part of the meat towards himself, and you can see the lions, or the lionesses rather, are just on the edge trying to get small little bits of meat. But the main, I would say the main cake is being held by Halftail. And you can see from the color of the ribs there, this kill is pretty fresh. I would say it must have been today, either midday or in the afternoon when it was brought down. And assuming the rest of them have eaten and this male or Halftail keeps eating, most likely it could have been like 12 o'clock or 1-ish. I've always wondered, you know, if I would change to be a cat and more so a lion, whether I would want to be a female or a male, because chances are, as much as I did not see the takedown of this zebra, these females did all the job. And what happens is the males, once they land on the table there, they'll always push out the females. We've seen sometimes if they're cubs, the males, you know, unwillingly will always allow the cubs to feed first, but they also tend to share. But as soon as the cubs are full and they're out on the other side, then the males come in, and the females, to me, who do the best job, will always come eating last. Well, I only saw one incident where I saw females that had brought down a zebra. Was it a zebra? Let me try to remember. I think it was a wildebeest. And there were two young males, and the males came and tried to push the females out, and the females fought them back. Afterwards, after all settled down, I found out two of those females had small little cubs, and I think they had just to make sure they were eating to get enough milk to support their cubs. And that was very special. I mean, it was not normal, but as you go back to these lions before darkness catches us, in general, once the lions have noticed or have known that a prey has been brought down by the females, they'll always majestically march in there and push out the females. I don't know. Kalsik, very good question. Why do the lions, or why don't the lions react to the jackals as they do the hyenas? I mean, they can tell jackals are small little guys and they do not count to them. But they can tell, they know hyenas are a strong force to reckon with. And if the hyenas build in numbers, they have been known as much as whether the lions have eaten enough. Like that big male we are seeing there, hyenas have been known to come and push the lions out of the kill. But now, as it is now, they know jackals are two, and jackals in general do not gang up in numbers. And jackals, I'm sure we all know, they're monogamous. You'll only see them in twos, you see them in threes or fours. There's a puppy. But hyenas, it'll take one, and they go woo, woo, and two hyenas come in. Woo, and 5 hyenas come in. And a few more of those calls, there'll be 30 hyenas. And I'll tell you, Kalsik, the lions will first try to stand their ground and try to push the hyenas out. But they cock up the tails ears raised up, and they surge forward. And lions will always have one option: to leave the kill. We have seen that very many times. Not very far from where we are, there's a particular clan of hyenas that we call the North Clan, and they're about 70 plus in numbers. That clan is fierce. They're fantastic, and anytime they pick a kill from any lions, it doesn't matter to them. They'll always get there and they push them out. Archie tried to catch a hornbill there. There's a hornbill flying there, and it was a cascade hornbill. Thank you, Archie. It was a cascade hornbill that's heading to those big trees there. That's where they normally spend the night. They are those birds that tend to live in very tall, dense trees, and in general, they feed on fruit. And I'm sure that's where she was heading to. What a nice sighting to have this lion sitting, and you see half-tail on one side and 3 females on the other side. He is holding, I would say, half of the meat on himself or by himself, and this female is just struggling to slowly get snippets, and the moment he pushes or he just stands up, they move backwards. The others are just rolling there, and they don't want to even get close. Catherine, you see the mane is very fluffy. It's very true. Look at that mane and see how dark it is. I would say early in the morning, Catherine, we had some showers, and I'm sure the mane got a little disorganized, and he has not maybe gotten a chance to go back to a salon. But yes, that mane is very fluffy, very large. Sometimes, Catherine, females have been known to prefer lion males that have large, mane, and sometimes a dark mane, because they will always know, or they think that they will sire cubs that are very healthy, but also possibly able to survive a drought, and also sometimes able to survive diseases. They're able to fight colds and fevers and flus very easily. And I think half-tail is an example of those males. And no wonder these females maybe have allowed him to join in the party, and the other two, I haven't seen them, and not even one of my friends have told me they have seen the other 2 males. This meat is going less and less in weight, and of course the lions are getting heavier and more so half-tail. And you can see his mohawk now just coming on his face. Keep eating, half-tail. You deserve to eat. You have done very well in this area by protecting this territory and making sure the females have wonderful cubs. And I think Sydney is searching and searching.
I have been searching almost everywhere in Torchwood, and I can't find a single track of both Tandy and Talamba in Torchwood today. Maybe they are out somewhere in our property. So now I am trespassing, coming back to the side of Juma. Oh, there's quite a lovely bird here. Oh, it's right here in front, so I'm just going to try and come forward a little bit to see if we can have a sighting. Looks like a juvenile battalion. Unfortunately, we won't be able to see it nicely because of the roof. Apologies. It is a lovely sunset from here where we are. It looks like it's also raining in some of the areas far away from here. So far, still no sign of Tandy or Talamba. Maybe much further deep in the Juma side, we might pick up some tracks. Now, let's just hope for the best. Let's hope for the best. Yeah, I haven't seen the leopards for quite a long time. It will be interesting to see them. It would be great if both Tandy and Talamba are back on our side. So I'm just waiting to pick up just a small evidence in order to investigate where exactly they might be in this area. Maybe because of the sun, maybe they are somewhere in one of the drainage lines. So the only dominating tracks on the ground here so far from the beginning is the elephants. So the elephant is the one who has been just to everywhere. Elizabeth, I didn't get your question nicely. It's getting windy a little bit here where I am at the moment. Elizabeth, we can't wait for that moment. All we want is heavy rains to come here and fill our dams. So the heavy rains will do. Oh, look, there is a very interesting behavior here, which is done by the kudu. I will show you just now. The kudu is eating the termite mound. So that kudu right on top there was just eating the termite mound. These animals, in order to have some supplements, they normally have to eat the soil in order to get some iron. And in order for them to get calcium, you will see them eating the bones of the other old dead animals. So the behavior when an animal is eating the soil is called a geophagia. So you can see this kudu is very much inquisitive. So now let's cross over to David, who's got the hyenas.
Well done, with kudu. And here the dynamics are changing and the ball game is changing. I'm not sure it was Kasik or who was asking me about the hyenas or why the lions do not push out the jackals if they come near the kill. Well, I have seen 1, 2, 3 now, 6 hyenas coming very close, and what they're doing is very typical of hyenas, scavenging. They're picking pieces of skin, they're picking pieces of bones, and that's one hyena there on the run, and the lions are trying to either stand their ground. That one is holding something. You see, that one is dragging either some skin of the zebra, and what will happen here, you see the lions, you see that one chasing? It's the lion chasing them. Let's see what will happen here. Lioness go. You did the job. Oh, why do these guys? Look at the hyenas going. Look at the run. They know that. And the jackals are on the run. All these predators know each other very well. And yeah, in the final control says awesome. So what these hyenas want to do is trying to intimidate the lions to leave the kill. We look carefully now, our lions look different than what we were watching earlier. We are already in infrared. That's why they look black and white, and our trees are not green anymore. And that's the beauty of infrared. What happens is we are able to see all this beautiful wilderness without shining any light that is artificial to them. and without interfering with what they want to do, and their characteristics remain the same behavior. So that hyena doesn't know we are here, as much as, you know, we can see it very well. And what she's trying to do is trying to get close to the kill. But she has to be very careful, and she knows just too well that she is just gambling also with her life. She can either get the meat or she can become the meat herself. So going, stopping, and of course thinking, do I keep going or not? Remember, very interactive safari we do. Your questions, comments are very welcome. Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Well, the lions had woken up, and I think the numbers of these hyenas were growing, and were getting a little bit worried by that, and they rose up. There's another male there. Let's see what's going to happen. I think second male of the Quichua, of the Quichua coalition could be on the kill now. Could be the one feeding. So I was talking earlier of a clan of hyenas that we call the North Clan. That clan, I respect them. If they choose to come here, it will not take them more than 5 minutes to intimidate these lions and move them back and just have the kill. But I'm not sure what clan these hyenas come from. And they are like, you know, little, oh, that one's still pulling the skin. Look at that one. So what they have to do is to drag the skin away from the lions. I mean, Joy, thank you to hear your name, and always a pleasure. Jambo Jambo, and I mentioned this is the marsh pride, and this is the marsh pride, and the males here, what we have are the Quichua males, and the Quichua males are always 3, and I think that one there, I can't see him very well. I guess that could be Fang or the other one, but the one Joy facing the other side, that is half-tail. I saw him earlier 100% before we went to infrared. That is half-tail. And of course, that's the other male that forms the 3 of the Quichua males, the coalition of the Quichua males. So the one that is facing away half-tail has been eating for the last 30 minutes. And I think he could be having anything like 20 kilos of meat in his tummy. And very characteristic, the males sometimes become a bit selfish, and they'll always not allow the females to eat. And you can see how they are fighting the females on that kill, going lurr, lurr. How amazing to see, you know, them having gotten a food for themselves and them just eating there. So the hyena got a piece of leg there, and what do? Get your piece and move away. As I said earlier, if you're not careful, these lions will come for you. They might kill you. I have not seen myself a lion eating a hyena, but I've seen many hyenas being killed by lions. Come on, go closer, get something for yourself. And here is where they say everybody for himself or herself. The one that was pulling the skin went in a different direction. The one running away got a leg, running in a different direction. And how beautiful is this? I'm just hearing now the frogs coming up and becoming more loud as darkness comes in. Come on, go close to the dining table, get something for yourself. Very good. I'm just going to wait and see how many hyenas will come close here and see how things will play out. But meanwhile, we'll take you back to South Africa to Trish.
Trish is up to a lot. Trish has gotten her hands dirty. So we were talking about the elephants and their diet. So I thought this would be really interesting. We have finally arrived at Buffelshoek Dam, and on the way driving up here, I found these 2 bits of dung, which I thought is a really cool comparison for you guys to see. So this is an older one, which would have been from around maybe even a couple weeks ago. It's quite old. It's quite dried up. I can pull twigs out of it very easily, completely dry. There's no moisture in here. Whereas this one, and you can also, you can also see the color is quite much redder, oranger, just a little bit. Whereas this one is pretty fresh. In fact, I would almost say that it might be from that herd. It's still got a lot of moisture content, and when I touch it, I mean, I can still see it. I can push it in very, very easily. So now, just a bit. I still like it though. I like getting my hands dirty. So there we can see right into them. Now, this one is where the elephant has been eating more nutrient-rich grasses and has been eating more leaves. And these things have been a bit more palatable. In fact, you can see that it's probably a bit better digested than this one is. This one's got a lot of bark sticking out, lots of dryness, and of course the red color which is coming from the tannins which were in the leaves at the time when the elephant did eat it, and of course the tree cambium that it had been eating, which you know is very orange indeed. In fact, I tried some myself once. It's got a bit of sweetness to it. I can't say I'd be eating it every day, all day, the whole through winter, but I would definitely, I mean, if there was nothing else, that's what you'd go for, wouldn't you? So, excuse me, Roshni would like to know how different they smell. Well, let's try it out. This one basically smells like soil in your garden. Very much like, yeah, just like soil. Very dry. Can't say it smells... Yeah, can't say it smells like anything very special. Very dry. In fact, that's the kind of impression it gives me. Whereas this one smells a lot more pooey. Yes, it does. In fact, you know, it almost makes me want to make it into little balls, like a little dung beetle, and roll it up. It's very, look at it, so squishy. So squishy. M says, please don't do that. I don't mind getting my hands dirty, M. Max would like to know if the lack of water would change the dung. Well, that's actually a really broad question, because the lack of water is what we experience in winter. So that is when we're having our dry season, and this is what we're going to get. We're going to get elephants who aren't able to eat the grass because it's not nutritious at that time. So the dung is going to basically look like this. So it definitely does affect it. Whereas when there is a lot of water, you have more nutrient-rich grasses, more nutrient-rich leaves, and then you end up with dung like this. I think it's very cool. It's nice how you get to see these things and kind of tie them all together. Now this one does have a few beetles. Emma suggests that I should give one to Sydney for a microphone. I think that these two are not up to Sydney's standard, to be very honest. He likes them round and full. These ones are a bit broken. Sydney has high standards, you see, especially for his elephant dung mics. But if you'd like me to, I can definitely keep this fresh one for him. I'm sure that would be very pleasant. Now, that is my little dung story here. I think it's very cool. Especially next to each other. You can really tell. Look at that difference. Very cool. Now, I can touch this because obviously it's a herbivore's dung. There's nothing in there, nothing dangerous that's going to hurt me. But up in the Mara, the dung of what David has, I would never touch. Let's see what he's got.
Well, yeah, it's a little different, Trish, and here has gotten a little bit darker, and even using my infrared, the darkness has gotten in, and what's happening, it has become rather difficult for us to see these lions very well, because you can compare us in South Africa. We are 1 hour ahead of South Africa, and that's why it has gotten dark much faster here, or much earlier than it is with Trish. Well, I'll be just leaving the lions now and moving on and finding out what we would see on the way. What I've heard a few minutes ago were just some hyenas cackling and trying to build themselves in numbers. The last I heard was whoop, whoop, whoop. And that's how they usually call each other. And once they build enough numbers, what will happen? They'll all get here, and the lions will very quickly make a decision. Do we, try them all, or do we just move on? And chances are, I would guess the lions will just have to move away. Well, it's time for us also to keep heading out slowly, and we see what else we'll see on our way on the road. Then why will the hyenas will have their tails up like that, like the warthogs? The whole idea, they want to look big. And you've seen or you have heard, I'm not sure, we don't have any polar bears here, but we have always been told, people are always advised, you're out there and you got a polar bear, try and make yourself look big, and that way, the polar bear might think twice getting into. The same thing we say here in Africa. If you're walking and maybe a big animal like an elephant is coming to you, try to look big. Maybe hyenas also, they'll cock up, the tails like that, wanting to look big. And then the lions will pose, these animals look too big for us. And then the numbers also, that way, it's an easy way to intimidate the lions. So they'll cock up their tails, and sometimes you get their ears also moving out or being blown out like that. And the whole idea is just to look big, to intimidate the lions. And maybe that way they easily get the kill. Well, beautiful sighting there we have had. We're just going to let those lions enjoy their dinner quietly because it's getting a little dark. And we move on and find out what else we'll see on our way. Very lucky it hasn't rained. I don't want to talk so much. A few days ago I said beautiful weather, no rain today. I don't smell it. I don't expect any rain. But what happened after that? It'll take me a long time, to forget. We were hammered for about 1 hour non-stop by the rain. I'll say so far, so very good. I still hear lots of hyenas trying to build in numbers and going towards that same direction. Yeah, that was a heavy rain. Well, I wish you could send, some rains to South Africa and more so to Sydney, who loves rain.
I am waiting for that rain, David. I can promise you it's going to make a very big difference here, as the dams are not full at the moment. I am right in the middle of the Mulwati drainage line, going further west just to see if we're not going to be lucky with any of these leopards around here. So there's no sign of the Juma hyenas, the Juma clan. I haven't seen them for quite a while now, and maybe they are doing very well. So I'm not too sure if maybe Trishal is going to be heading towards the den, as they tried yesterday and those hyenas were not there. They do go out for foraging sometimes. We do find them when they are there to nest the babies, but they also go out in order to forage. Yesterday they were out. Maybe this afternoon they might be back. Now it's December. Maybe they have gone on holiday. So this is the place where Hosanna was also spotted this morning. Maybe he's still somewhere here as well. So now let's go back to Trishala, who is having a hippopotamus at the moment.
I I do have a hippo. Now, I find this quite exciting because I was just saying to Darby and Steve, a couple times I have driven up on them. They have seen me from a mile away and have predicted that I'll be coming, and they were out the water in no time. So this guy, pretty excited that he's there waiting for me. Now you can see he has his eyes on us. He knows that we're definitely around, but he doesn't feel that we are threatened by, well, he doesn't feel threatened by us. Very cool. Now, earlier I wanted to go to Chitwa, and of course Sydney went to Chitwa, and now it seems that Sydney is trying to take Hosanna from us. He's truly making this a competition, and I am very competitive, so Sydney must watch out. How dare he, honestly. Now, but I've got something else to keep me occupied for now. Mr. Hippo, yeah, now. Yes, Hippo does also start with an H, so maybe we'll get closer and closer to the end of Hosanna. Oh, check that out. That is a terrapin on his butt. Very cool. Now, serrated hinged terrapins are notorious for picking ticks off hippos when they sit like this in the water. And I'm pretty sure that's what this guy's after right here. In fact, remember those ticks that we saw earlier? Maybe there's a couple of them on this hippo and he needs some relief, which this terrapin, of course, will offer him. Now, like we said, all these animals around here are trying to cool down because it has been so hot these last couple hours. Truly, truly hot. And even though I'm from Durban and I'm a Durban girl, I am still feeling very hot. Georgia would like to know how long hippos can breathe underwater. Well, hippos don't breathe underwater, Georgia. What they do is they come up for air. And they'll do this every 5 to 6 minutes. That's how long they can usually hold their breath for as an adult, whereas babies can only do it for about 40 seconds. And what's actually very cool is that they have the ability to close their eyes, ears, and nostrils while they're underwater so that nothing seeps in. And now even when they are sleeping, they have an automatic response that will pick them up to the water when they need to breathe, and then they'll sink right back down. Very cool adaptations, I think. Now you can see the way he's sitting. He's got his eyes and his ears and his nose. All his essential senses can still sit right at the top, even though the majority of his body is underneath. Helmut would like to know, where is Durban? Durban is what I call a tropical paradise, even though James Henry will not agree with me. I think it's a tropical paradise on the east coast of South Africa. It is, yep, it is on the east coast of South Africa, and it is a very, very sunny place. In fact, what you see there, we see in Durban all the time. I think my Durban winter is about... Ooh, let us go to David quickly, who's got something very cool for you.
Well, we got a bat-eared fox here that's just about to disappear. It's quite an issue to spot them. And let me just see whether if we reverse we can... do you think we can get it, Archie? Let me just try, as if we reverse we can spot it again. But that was a bat-eared fox, which are very rare sighting to see at night. We'll see them during the day in their dens. And let's see very quickly if we can see where he has gone. He has gone to the right side. I'll first put my spotlight on there and see whether they can see him, but not anywhere inside. They move very, very quickly. And definitely it must have come out its den, or it must have been coming from somewhere. And then it's going back home to the den. My guess is he's definitely, going back to the den because they are not very safe. They know they should be back home by now, and they have the worries of hyenas. Catherine, you say they are so cute, and I'm sure if you saw it, thank you very much. I'm happy. That's a great comment. They're very, very cute. And especially their large ears when I look at all the animals in Africa and you look at the proportionality or the size of the ears compared to the body, you know, the ears are not proportional for the bat-eared. They're huge because they need them. They need to pick every slight sound, you know, out here in the wilderness, and that's what helps them. Sometimes they eat ants and they need to hear the movement of the ants on the ground where they are, and they'll be able to go pick them up. But of course, also the ears or good hearing will help them to be safe away from the would-be predators like wild dogs or even hyenas. Well, that was quite exciting and very strange to see her alone, because they'll always be going in small little groups. Well, darkness has fallen here, and I just need now to have my spotlight out and keep looking left and right. That was some exciting moment to see a bat-eared fox at night. Quite special to see them at night. Personally, I see them more during the day than at night. And always hanging around near the den. Should there be any concern or, you know, an issue of safety or danger, they very quickly get in the den. But once in a while you see them out there foraging for ants, because they love eating lots of ants. Well, Trish, tell us something. You were talking about Durban. You need to finish your story because we are all waiting and would want to know all about Durban.
I'm so happy that you all want to know about Durban. There's 2 stories to tell you now. Of course, Durban, like I said, is where I grew up for half my life, and that is on the east coast of South Africa. And then the other half of it I spent growing up in Melbourne in Australia. So I have a bit of my heart here and a bit of my heart in Australia. But Durban is still my home. Now, thank you very much for asking, by the way. It's always nice to get to know you guys and for you guys to get to know me a little personally as well. But we're all waiting for the Tingana story. It was so intense. It was much like a day like this, night like this. It was warm, sun was out. It was just starting to set, and we had picked up the drone, and we are now going about. So here we are, busy, out of the vehicle, on quarantine. And Seb is the drone pilot, and we have the thermal imaging camera being used. So we are so focused on looking, the drone is so focused on looking at far away, because it's far away from us now, that we didn't see the leopard walking towards us. And all I hear is Troli say, "Malume, leopard, leopard, malume." It's exactly how he says it. And the way we were standing around the car, I was next to Seb, so it was Tingana walking towards us. If Tingana had decided that I was his next meal, I would have gone first. I was right in front of him. So there he goes walking towards us, and James kind of instructs us. He says, "Okay, everybody stay still." Then he continues to walk towards us, and now, you know, sweat's starting to build up just a little bit, your heart's pumping just a little bit, you're still okay. You know, he's still far enough away. And then he continues to walk towards us, and now there's nothing between us. What we like to do is maybe keep a termite mound or drainage line or something between you, so you've always got cover. Nothing between us. You see in quarantine, flat. He continues to walk, and then James instructs us again. Okay, everyone against the car, and then everyone sink down slowly. So that's what we did. Tingana must have come to within 6 meters of me. 6 to 8 meters of me. Before we started up the drone again to try and scare him. It did nothing. He just looked at it. He didn't even react to it. We thought maybe he'd paw at it or something. Nothing. And that was the first time. Now there's me, the drone between me and Tingana, and he's there. He looked at me into my eyes. An incredible experience. Absolutely. It was, I couldn't even describe it, astounding. He looked at me into my eyes. So that was my Tingana story. Favorite one. And of course, after all that intensity, he walks behind me, and then he sits behind the car as if it's, you know, this is where he hangs out. What are we doing here? So H. Macy says she loves story time with Trishala. Well, I'm glad to hear it, because I do like story times too. And the more we're here, the more we get these stories and we get this experience, and it actually matters so much, because it's one thing to know the biology of these animals, and then to have these stories about them, that's something else. Something I really, really like. Anyway, story time is over for now, and we shall move on. Magic Dragon Wizard says that must have been amazing. Magic Dragon Wizard, I don't even think that is a good enough word. That was truly, truly an experience. Lara Moore says Tingana is a character. He certainly is. The other time I can remember with Tingana, he was on a termite mound just before a rehearsal, and he soared so close to me, and that sound really goes through you. It's not a superficial sound. It's not just, it's as if there's layers to it. There's layers to the way he's putting out the sound. It really is amazing. So I've had some great experiences with Tingana, and of course Hosanna when I came in for my interview that time. Ooh, looks like we're all sharing Tingana stories. Sydney is really trying to be in a competition with me today. But I hope he knows he's going to lose. And if he does lose, he's going to get some fresh dung for his dung mic. What do you think? I think so. So let's go over to him and see what he has to say about Tingana and his experiences with him.
So look at that. This is quite a lovely sunset. You can see the reflection of the sky there. Look at that. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see the sun going down. But the impalas are just running away here where I am. Apologies for the poles. Oh, here on this side all the impalas are just running away. I don't know what exactly happened here. All of a sudden, animals are not settled. Let me just pull further here and see what is happening. Maybe there's something coming here. Maybe there's something coming. Let me just check what's happening here, because all these impalas just decided to run away. So maybe they are just running away from the other filming crew in the area. But that was too fast. Getting back to the sun, some few months ago I was out on a game drive, and we were trekking and following Tingana. Tingana was hunting, and he got tired and decided to lie down on one of the termite mounds. When he was lying down there, there was a duiker, and this duiker was running away from something. We didn't even see what happened. And the duiker came straight to Tingana and went past by Tingana on a distance of this gap. That duiker went past here, and when Tingana saw that something is coming, he was not too sure. He got a fright, and the duiker went past, and then he decided to follow a little bit, and he couldn't win that battle. So a free meal came to him, and he just couldn't see it. He did not see it coming. So now I am going to drive much more towards Tree House, and I will end up by the hyena den. Maybe we might be lucky with something there. So maybe we are going to be lucky with one of the lovely expected animals for today, hyena and a leopard. All the viewers are greeting a quick sighting of Pat, the recognized Pat. Let me pass my greetings, Pat. The viewers are greeting you. So these impalas are now settled here. Maybe it was not about anything dangerous. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is having some elephants at the moment.
Well, it's good always to go to the hyena den because you never know what you see there. But I decided to stay on the road, and good omen followed me after the lions because we got some herd of ellies here with pretty young calves. And again, remember, we are already in infrared. That's why my elephants may look different from the normal elephants that you know. And the infrared helps us not to shine any artificial light to this beautiful beast of Africa, the African elephants that tend to eat and eat and eat. When you talk of lions sometimes sleeping 18, 20 hours in a day, we have always said elephants also may eat 18, 20 hours in a day. Just to support that body frame, it means tons of food or kilos of vegetation to keep them going. Not forgetting they don't have the very best digestive, or they don't put it to good use all what they eat. Hello there. You look a beautiful girl. Very good looking female there. She's a very huge cow by any standard. Not sure the one to eat is right is her calf. Ellie lover, thank you very much, and wonderful to see Ellie's in the dark. And if you're like me, Ellie lover, just to let you know, elephants are my favorite animals, and as your name suggests, Ellie lover, I would guess to you they are also your favorite animals. And as you see, to see them in infrared, it's pretty special, and you can tell how relaxed they are, how quiet and how comfortable they are with us. We're talking about 20-30 meters away from where we are, and they are not bothered by our presence. Looking carefully at those two tusks, you notice one is a little shorter than the other, and I think at times you've said elephants are either left-handed or right-handed. Average, I'm not sure I got your question. Did you ask how do they get holes on their ears? Because if that's the case, that will happen maybe when they fight. I'm not sure I got your question very well. And once in a while, they will have those scuffles, and you can see how sharp their tusks are. And by mistake, should they push each other, that would easily happen. And Emerald, also, if you look carefully, that particular girl, she is missing a tail. And apparently, some of them could be born with maybe holes in their ears, but also some could be born without tail. Just notice she only got a stump. But either way, she will also keep moving that stump because in her mind, she got the reflex that she need to keep flicking the tail once in a while. So that happens, but also there could be a possibility maybe while young, she was bitten by something. Could have been a crocodile when crossing the river, could maybe have been a lion that tried to bring it down and the mother came in. It could be anything. See the background there. Are those more ellies or those are buffaloes? Yeah, those are buffaloes. And yeah, they would hurt, if I got that right. Sorry, and bring that question again about the tail of the elephant. Because all flies jumping up and down, or beetles, because once the rain comes, that's what happens. Very good. I mean, I would say for a fact it would hurt because there are a lot of nerves and blood vessels in that tail, and definitely it would bleed and it would really hurt. So my guess is it would really hurt, and I do not know how elephants sense or feel the pain, but I'm sure with the nerves and all the blood vessels, you know, it would definitely hurt and they'd feel lots of pain in that particular area. But then they're very good or easy to recover, and once that wound heals, then they're always good to go. Umka, how good is an elephant eyesight at night? It's very good. They may not be able to see colors. They'll see light and, you know, dark shades or dark images. And I would say they easily, or they could equally see just like human beings. We have walked out in the bush and we have pretended, you know, like in our villages, to find out if elephants can see us, and we would stand and we would see them trying to incline towards where we were, and they would take off, you know, when they were small boys in the village. So Umka, I would say their eyesight could be as good as ours. Maybe, as I said, they may not see the colors, but they would see dark and light shades. You can hear one of them just rumbling there, and that rumbling will always come from the throat. Jessica, elephant tusks, are they a nuisance to them? I would say no, because ellies need them so much. You'd imagine, Jessica, if elephants want to bring a particular branch down, or like the marula trees, they want the fruits down, they sometimes need to knock the tree using the tusks, and they would say their trunks are very delicate, and they may not want to hurt their trunks by trying to force the branches down. So Jessica would say their trunks are very important to them. They don't feel them as a nuisance, and ideally they need them. And once in a while you have seen males fighting and going for each other, so the tusks come in very handy to them, and they would definitely use them a lot. And you have seen elephants once in a while that don't have the tusks, not looking as good or not looking as big as the normal elephants, which means that the tusk translates to very big benefit to the elephants. Now I want to leave them eating because there's small little calves in this herd here, and just let them enjoy their grazing as I head forward, and maybe I'll be seeing something else interesting. And not sure they want to cross the road. I might have to wait a little bit for a couple of seconds, not to invade them and get into their space, because I think one of the females is crossing the road, and I have always believed that animals have the right of way. So this particular one is not even crossing the road, but it's just walking on the road, and I would call this a small roadblock for me, and I would definitely have to respect their space. I think when I came to the Mara Triangle, I found these elephants here, and it's only fair that I can respect them. And once, of course, they cross the road, I'll be able to move on. And we have always had this question, David, where did the elephants cross the road? And yet there's equal, you know, availability of food on both sides. Clever animals. Maybe the direction they're going, they got some, you know, there's a watering point, and they're going to have a drink. And as much as they eat lots of food, they also drink lots of water. So I'm going to put on my light, and I think they've crossed the road, and I think it's time for me to move on. Okay. Wonderful. Elephants will never bore you. Elephants will always entertain you. And they'll always be doing something. Whatever little they're doing, elephants are always in action. Not sure whether Sydney has been lucky by the hyena den.
I am now heading much more towards the hyena den area, but still looking for some leopards on the way. We might get there anytime soon. Let's hope the hyenas are there together with the cubs playing outside. There is a hyena spotted not long time ago, or maybe now, somewhere around the Viotella pen. So I am going to the den at the moment. There's quite a lot of hyena tracks where I am. Maybe it's a sign that there is a leopard in the area. So hyenas, they are a good sign of those big cats such as the leopards in this area. Still no tracks of Osana at the moment. Now let's go back to Steve with some elephants. Let's go back to Trish.
Splish splash, they were taking a bath. Yes, they were. Look at them. I'm so excited to find them. Oh. Now this is the female who's coming over to another little pan that we've got on the side here, but check out her tusk. Oh, she's just checking us out, making sure that we are okay. See how she puts her trunk up in the air. Hey girl, it's okay. See how she's twisting it about there. Hey girl, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Now we were a bit close. Okay, so that's telling me that she is a bit more relaxed now. She's starting to eat again, which is a good sign. So she's a bit more relaxed. She just needed to know that we're not going to hurt her or cause her or her babies any issues at all, especially since she's left them unattended at the hole to play a bit. Oh. Look at them. Look at this little one. Oh. Albeard says, what a great spa. It definitely is a great spa. You get a mud bath, you get a snack, you get a drink. Isn't that all the things we need? Now look at this little guy getting quite onto the edge. I was just going to say he's going to slip. Look at that. I always find it so interesting the way they can use their trunks. And of course the way the baby's trunks just seem to be flailing around. This is just a wonderful sight. Joy would like to know if this female is very old. Now I can see exactly what you're seeing, that the sides of her head and by her temporal area is quite pushed in, which may indicate that she's quite old, but her size doesn't indicate very old to me. Now elephants can get quite old. They have the potential to even be as old as 60 years old, but this girl here, I'd say probably in her 30s. Now we are quite close. I mean, just a little hushed here, but of course that doesn't actually mean anything because she's heard us and seen us long before we did. It's just sort of a natural reaction, I guess. There you can see her. She's still got her eye on us. Amal says he loves the sound of the evening. It is a beautiful evening. If I could describe it to you, we have firstly the smells. I can smell the ellies. The ellies give off quite a distinctive smell. I can't really describe it. I guess it smells a bit like, sort of a bit like their dung, which smells a lot like the plant material they eat. A bit sweet as well, a bit musky, but nonetheless very pleasant. And you can also hear the birds. There's a bird calling right here in this tree next to me. Now, there's a whole lot of them. Now, to me, they look like Birchall starling on the side here, being a bit noisy. I can see them just up there, Darby, but they are jumping about quite a bit. Sorry, guys. We have this roof on just in case. It's blocking our view for now. But I will tell you that they are Birchall starlings. They are on the top. So that's what you're hearing. Philip would like to know if the nighttime makes early cows more defensive. Well, firstly, elephants don't quite have very many predators that are going to go after them in the first place. They are huge. They are the biggest land mammal that we have. So they're not in particularly lots of danger in the first place. But at night, the bush changes quite a bit. So the predators that are out, they're kind of, during the day they can be very scared of us or intimidated by us coming along, and if we had to jump off the vehicle they would very likely run. And that goes for lions and leopards, but in the evening things change a little bit. Look at this baby getting right down in there. Wonderful sight. I Love Snacks says that this baby Ellie keeps spilling. Well, yes, he does. He or she, actually. Just remember, they've got this huge apparatus coming out of their face. And they need some time to be able to find out exactly how to use it and master it. Think of it as playing a new sport. It's hard at first, but before you know it, you'll be picking up peanuts with your trunk. Much like Mum does. And all this, especially with mammals, this type of play and experience is very, very important because that's how they grow and they learn. So it may be a bit comical, but it is essential to this little baby's survival. Now, I think I might have a bit of an early roadblock myself because I don't want to scare them, and starting off the vehicle might do that. So I'm going to sit tight. In the meantime, it seems that David has finally gotten through his.
Well done, Trish, with the Ellies. And, you know, any day you see Ellies, or like Ellie Lover said, is always a wonderful day. I left my Ellies and I decided I need to move on and chance for maybe other Ellies or something different. I'm an area that have once in a while seen lions. There's a particular breed of lions around this area that is called the Olololo Pride, and they tend to come out at this time of the night. And in this particular area, for one reason, there's a lot of prey in this area, and two, there's some water. There's a little spring that never dries out, so they'll always hang around here, and I've always chanced them, seeing them around. So that's why I have to drive very carefully, looking left and right and seeing if I might be lucky to see some. So far nothing, but you never know. So the whole idea is just to keep looking, or maybe scrub hairs could be a good thing to see. There's something I want to struggle and see whether I can be able to catch. This could be a very difficult mission for Archie, but if it works out, fine. If it doesn't, we'll move on. It's just some ants on the road. Archie's gonna walk me through, and I just shine my light there. Those are the ants there. Tell me what you want me to do, or do we keep going? Those are the ants there. Can I just stop there? We are in infrared, And let's see Archie's magic. And fantastic. You've even done better than what I would think. Yes, this is magical camera work here. And these are what we call the safari ants. And we call them safari ants because they are always on the move. Actually, want my light off. Hopefully that makes things better. Very good. There they are. And we call them safari ants, as I said earlier, because they are always on the move. Unfortunately, they are on the road, and I'll take responsibility of running over them, and not only me. It's kind of things that will happen to many of these beautiful animals out here in Africa. This is where the road is, and always in motion, and there are thousands and thousands of them. And this one reminds me of the migration. Lorena, great comment, and that loads of ants you say, and yes, there are so very many, Lorena. And I'll tell you, Lorena, one thing: you do not want to be bitten by any of these ants. What happens is you'll walk through them and you can easily pick them on the soles of your shoes, and when you do that, they don't bite you. What they do, they just crawl up, and of course they feel not right when you walk over them, and they keep crawling up, and at one point when they can't move anymore, that is when they bite. Now, the biggest bite will come from the males, and once the males bite, they have very strong fangs, and those fangs just lock. And when they lock, there's no way, even if you try and pinch the abdomen or the tail, or try to rub it out, they do not let go. And what happens is, when you try to pull them out of your body, the better part of the body comes out, and the head or the fangs remain, glued into your body, and the fangs still locked. And that's one pain you don't want. So safari ant, they are getting now a lot of insects that what they'll be feeding on, and they just don't want to stay here for long, because I might also pick them the tires and they end up on me and Archie, and we might be in a lot of trouble. Well, we go back to South Africa to Trish, because her ellies are very thirsty.
I am still with my ellies. I can't leave the spot. It's so beautiful. Now, we were talking about the different ways, well, rather the flimsy way and clumsy way in which the little calf uses his or her trunk. But let's look at the way Mum uses hers. Look at the way she can twist the bottom. Very cool. Now, earlier we could actually hear her sipping up through the water, through her trunk like a straw. Now she's flicking her trunk around. There you go. It's okay. It's okay. She is very, very interested in us. And that's quite understandable, because she's got a little baby coming behind her. So we want to let her know that she is completely secure, and that most importantly, baby is completely secure. Oh, look at him peeking through the bushes. Hello. Look at this tiny trunk. I love, often these little ellies will come and give us a little bit of a charge. They're also interested in who we are and what we're doing around them. He'll usually take his lead from Mum, so Mum's been curious about us, and that's why he or she is equally. Getting a feel for those nutritious grasses. Lara Moss is so cool. Gosh, I can think of 100 ways to describe this. In fact, why don't you use the hashtag SafariLive and give me your one-word tweet on what you think this feels like, or what you feel when you see this, rather. What would mine be? don't actually... Ooh, look at that tail. I don't know what mine would be. I'm feeling so many things. I think I'll have to use my favorite word. Incredible. Really, credit cannot be given to it. It is uncreditable. It really is such a view. I mean, you've got the bush in the background, and look at that sun setting as well just behind them. Now, what I can hear and actually feel are low rumbles coming from Mum. Now, that's quite amazing. You can feel that. They can communicate vast distances. Some of the numbers can be a bit extreme, but from what I understand, it's probably about 4 kilometers that they can hear these things go. Bulk's one-word tweet is adorable. I do think it's adorable. That little baby is absolutely adorable. But I must say, we have to include Mum's reaction to us in this tweet, you know? So was Mum very adorable? I'm sure she was in her time too. We were all cute once. Lara Moore says, paradise. I am inclined to agree with that one very much so. I mean, like I said, the bush in the background, the sunrise, sunset behind it, and these elephants with the ears going behind it as well. It really is something. Oh, I could spend every evening like this, I think. Not too shabby at all. Connie says tranquility. Definitely when they were down there by the waterhole. Definitely. In fact, there's still a little guy who's busy chowing down. Look at that. Remember we were talking about the dung earlier. Now if you watch him, he kind of goes for the lush leaves, which is, we said, what they would go for when it's the summertime and it's a bit more wet. Sure. And then the bottom, you can see every now and then he picks up some of the grass from the bottom. Now we are just going to swap over to infrared because the light is leaving us just a bit. And this will give us a nice image of them without having to put any sort of artificial light on them, so they're completely in their natural environment. And there we go. It's not too bad. It is magic. All of the things in this place are magic. I think, in fact, I'd change my one-word tweet. It would be magical. On my magical note, look at this. Can't wait for the stars to come out, and then you have like fairy dust and unicorns coming out here. It'll be so magical. But in the meantime, Sydney has, I think, a fairly magical creature himself. Sorry about that. Or maybe not so sorry, because now you get to experience the Ellies again. Like I said, I could sit here all day and watch them. Now, I actually think this is Mum with a few of her calves. The little one looks quite tiny, whereas this one looks maybe between 4 and 5. Which would make sense. I was actually quite glad that she came to investigate us before she moved on, because she has walked off. And this tells me that she's actually quite comfortable, because she's left little one here. Now, just then, I don't know if you saw that, but he was very, very still. Now, often when they're very still and then they start to move, they've been communicating in an infrasonic way that we won't be able to hear. Oh, look at him displaying his girth, I suppose. Trying to push over this tree. Oh, shame, little guy. Not yet. So my Ellies have walked away and they've decided to say goodnight to you. And in the meantime, let's get David to say his final goodbyes as well.
Well, I have stopped here and just trying to watch from that side. I thought I had seen either an animal move there, but I can't see it anymore. I don't know what it was, but I was guessing it could have been a savo cat. I'm just waiting to see if the eyes will pop up again. And maybe if they don't, it is still wonderful that we have been waiting for Ray to come out. And how nice it has been to have all of you with us today, both from South Africa and here in Kenya in the Mara Triangle. It has been such a wonderful afternoon to have all of you with all your questions, with all your comments. Fantastic. And those lions, especially that I saw having that zebra, that was an amazing thing I've not seen for quite some time, and especially having the half-tail, who I had not seen some time. We might be going back to chance if that savo cat might come out, but I truly want to thank everybody for having joined us today, and that's exactly where that savo cat was. And it's not there, but you never know. Sometimes these animals disappear and then they show up. Well, on behalf of all the colleagues, Trish, Sydney, myself, and all the camera operators, we thank you, and to all of you, have a very good one, and from all of us, goodbye.